Well, I hope I can tell a better story than I told a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad you kids weren't here because I got up here and started blubbering all over myself because I'm talking about dogs. And, we've all heard this. Somebody's always telling you that God works in mysterious ways. Here I go again. I'm going to tell you about how I got this little dog. Now, I didn't want this little guy. I refused it. First time he was offered. We live on a private road, and we don't get very many people coming to our house. I have 6-foot fence out in front and steel gates. In fact, I don't think we've even ever had a Halloween trick-or-treater come to our door. I think Jehovah's Witnesses are the only people that have ever snuck in a couple of times. And one day, there was a knock on the door, and I didn't answer it, my son did. And lo and behold, there was a little girl about 10 or 11 years old, and she had this little dog. And she was wandering house to house up my road, seeing if she couldn't find an owner or somebody that wanted him. Now, I didn't even bother going to the door. I hollered at my son from the family room, I have enough dogs. I already had a little dog, very similar to him, except he was black and white. And my son told me, Dad, I think you should look at this little guy. He's just like Milo. And I go, I have enough of him, not interested. Well, about 2 weeks later, Milo unexpectedly was killed. So, I was distraught for weeks. And this little dog, again, I'm out looking one day, and up the road walks a little girl with this dog again. And I just ignored her. In fact, I closed my gate, she couldn't come in. I wasn't going to put up with this. Well, turns out, this little guy, all the kids who rode the school bus knew about this dog. And they all considered him their dog. They'd all taken him home, and he wouldn't stay with anybody. He was a hobo. He wandered from house to house in about a half-a-mile circle. He was just well known, but I didn't want him. Well, the ultimate happened one day. A good friend of mine was operating his backhoe, and this little dog, as he was driving his backhoe home, this little dog was out in the road. So he picks him up, and he brings him up to me. And he goes, I think you should look at this guy. Well, again, I said no. So that night we thought about it, and I don't know if it was me or you, but reluctantly we agreed, okay, let's go get him. So we brought him home, and he didn't want to stay with us too well. He gave us some issues. Every time he would hear a little girl or a little boy somewhere way off in the distance, he would go to them. And luckily we had a name on him, had a tag, so they would always call us and we'd go bring him home. And one day, at that time, we were operating our business up in Skamania County, and we were very isolated, and I took him with me. And I figured after a few weeks, he'd stick close to me, but as soon as I opened the door, he was off and running. And off in the woods, and there's nobody around living up there. And I just thought to myself, oh well, there he goes, we'll never see him again. About a half an hour later, here he come, walking in the shop. He was back, and I don't think we've ever lost him since. But anyway, God had a plan. We didn't know. We've had him for 12, 13 years now. Oh, about 2-3 months ago, he lost an eye. He's blind on one eye now. But it was an accident. My other dog scratched his eye. But he's probably got a year or two left in him. Well, you never know. But my thing with dogs is, I was watching something on television just recently, and they said some scientist who has a lot more time on his hands than he should had said that there were about 30 million animals on the planet. And that includes, there's just everything you can imagine. Things I've never heard of. But there's only one animal on the planet that I can think of, and if somebody can tell me another one, let me know. But a dog's sole purpose is to serve you and be your friend. And if you stop and think about it, there's seeing eye dogs, there's sled dogs, there's dogs all over in Europe that work. And a dog will not only work for you, he wants to spend time with you. Now, horses, they're good friends too, but a horse doesn't necessarily have to be with you all the time, and a dog does. A dog, if you're kind to your dog, even if you're not very kind to him, he is always there. Whether you like him very much or not, he is always your friend. So anyway, I just wanted to point out the fact that even before I was aware of it, God had a plan to replace my dog. So I just think they're a great gift. All right. I didn't make too big a fool of myself.
Oh, Ben, you always tug up my heartstrings. Thank you so much. Okay, you can go back to your seats now.
Come on, Edward.
Thank
I
you,
didn't
Ben.
even tell you what his name was. His name is Eddie.
Eddie. Eddie is the dog's name.